So there is a new playlist up over on the pirate ship called The Fourth Turning. My homeboy Metal Memory took the time to share some stuff that he found interesting from the Martyr Made podcast regarding a theoretical concept called the fourth turning. And what it does is that fourth turning, it centers around the saying like weak men create hard times create strong men create good times create weak men. So what the fourth turning does is it expounds on that concept. It gives some details surrounding it. The dude man that does it, he gets into the rhythms of timelines, the rotation of the planets, events that happen generationally. There's some interesting details. Take it in for yourself. I've got a link in the description below. It's interesting because I find a common denominator as I record this video, and this is myself including. Just this feeling that there's some tough times ahead. I don't want to be like that. Nobody wants to work and blah, blah, blah. I'm not there. I do see people that don't want to work. And I do see people, even I've got a couple of friends here on YouTube. They're utterly disenfranchised. 2 years ago, I had about a month off. I didn't work for about a month. Now I have the financial means to do so. I don't know if there's a difference there or not. But that's not bragging on myself. I'm just saying, my intention was to go back to work. I wasn't like thinking, oh, I'm done. I either by hill or by rote, is that right? I needed to get back in it. I couldn't do it. It's funny. There's some older people that live in the neighborhood that I live in. And golly, there we were, a bunch of old guys. I'd fire up my lawnmower in the morning, and we're talking the grass gets cut every other day. And in my case, it came at a time when my father-in-law was having some major health issues, and my family needed me home a lot more than they needed me at work. So that was the case there. It wasn't enough to make up for the 65 to 70 hours that I'd put into my job all the years previous to taking that month off. There's some stuff that you just don't get back. But all we have is the present tense, right? So the fourth turning, dude man's pretty hard on the boomer generation. From what I can tell, based on the timeline and what is established in the essay, he has them labeled as the weak generation. So it was interesting too. He talked about that the boomers seem to be very reluctant to let go of the reins of power. He used Biden and Trump as an example, people staying in politics into their late 70s and 80s and stuff, and said the GI generation before them, the silent generation, make of it what you will, near the strongest, was different. They would step down from being he was using Eric Weinstein as an example, talking about how university presidents aren't stepping down. They used to step down emeritus. Politics wise, I don't think that's true. You had guys like Strom Thurmond and Ted Kennedy that stayed in politics into their 80s, 90s. And in Strom Thurmond's case, I think he was almost 100. Don't even get me started on the Supreme Court. But he mentioned too, though, of the GI generation, we had John F. Kennedy, that being elected to president at an extremely young age compared to nowadays. It made me wonder, because he picked on the boomers. I don't want to say picked on, but he pointed out the whole tune in, drop out, do drugs, and they've kept that in the back of their mind. It made me wonder what would have happened if Kennedy hadn't passed. If he really meant, like, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That is the most anti-communist thing that has ever been said in one sentence. And that's the fundamental principle that can't be understated. Whether or not he believed that, the idea of pushing the space program, averting nuclear disaster, I mean, the list goes on. The fourth turning. But in the essay, he has a very, very dire prediction for the future. He brought up how polarization of political parties becomes even more polarized, centrists becoming mitigated. Listen to my words. Listen. In like fucking robot mode here. Dog, you freak me out when you do that. He like randomly runs away from something, like as if something bites him. Anyway. Which they did, I did see some of that crap a couple years ago on the Facebook when the racism stuff and the it seemed like every city in the country was rioting, and the George Floyd thing. Silence is violence. And then there we are. I don't mind being a centrist, personally. I don't mind changing my mind. And I don't mind listening to the arguments of people. I do find them aggravating sometimes. And it's happened on here before, because, you know, after I've listened to the arguments of people, I somehow sometimes expect the opposite to happen, and it doesn't always happen, and that's fine. That's a dragon I still have to slay, apparently, and that's good. That's good, because I'm getting to the age to where all those dragons need to be slain. So my conclusion is not complete on the fourth turning. I want to work with my friends on here, the Brain Trust, with Metal Memory, you, sir. Now, I seem to recall back in the day when it was you, me, and Bison Hawk and the crew. I want to say you were in the automotive industry, and now I see you wearing scrubs in a couple of your videos. So I am curious about the story. Are you not in the shop anymore, or is my memory not so metal? God, that's a badass name, Metal Memory. It makes me think of something really cool that I can't wrap my head around, like a record player, but I don't even know. Any old way. Also I need y'all's advice in closing. So a guy I used to work with, John. So I've got my phone set on silent, and then it's do not disturb from like 7 to 7. So it's like near impossible to get a hold of me through cellular communication. Reason I did this was I had some health issues a couple weeks ago during stressful times at work, I found myself getting headaches. I told my wife, and we checked my blood pressure. And after work that one particular day, my blood pressure was like 200 over 100. So like literally getting to the point to where I was working myself to where trying to die. So my compadre in that podcast, and and the day actually a couple of those podcasts are recording, I'm just hanging out with him, and like a true brother, he's like, let me see your phone. And he's like, what do you got all this setting to? He's like, my phone has been on silent for 1.5 years. And he gave me some other tips. The do not disturb mode, turning off all the banners. So anyway, as a result though, when my phone used to ring at like 8 o'clock at night with former coworkers, former classmates, this guy I used to work with, he moved up to North Georgia from down here, retired, and he's been trying to get a hold of me. I don't know whether to call him back or not. He's very grim about everything. I don't know if he still does. He's got a drinking problem, and he's also one of them people, like, he won't let you get off the phone either. Like, so it's a 2-hour phone call. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna think on it some more, and obviously I'm asking my friends on here, so let me know. All right, catch you on the next one.